Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2011 BMW X5 M. Up front is a 4.4 liter twin turbocharged V8 and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission.
This video is sponsored by CarMarshal.com. If you'd like to support the channel, click the link down in the description below. CarMarshal.com advertises for over 100,000 vehicles across the US.
But let's get back to that twin turbo V8. Now, you cannot go wrong with any forced induction on a V8. You just can't. I've never driven a supercharged V8 or turbocharged V8 and thought, nah. They are always good. And so we're up to temperature. We got a little bit of space here. And apparently this does have launch control. So this is my first time ever doing this. So left foot brake. Wow. Okay. That kicks you right in the chest, and it has a little bit of a bark once it shifts, man. Woo! That is a fun SUV. I'm gonna pull over up here and get it out of sport mode, which we'll talk about all the modes a little bit later on when we talk about the interior. But man, this thing rips. It just straight up rips. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It is a quick SUV. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Nothing really too crazy here. I'm not really blown away by it, although when it does shift, I mean, the exhaust makes that great noise. It's a very prominent sound. It shifts great, and I do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel. There's nothing really else to say about it. I mean, it's a quality transmission, and I like it. Last but not least, the X5M is all-wheel drive. I really like that as well. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have two prominent gauges. On the left is the speedometer, and on the right is the tachometer. In the middle, I do get some information, what gear I'm in, how many miles are on the car, my odometer, miles till empty, things like that. I really like that. I've always loved BMW gauges. I think that they're very clean, very simple, and they just overall always look great. Now, up in front of me, I do have a heads-up display. Right now, it is displaying essentially a tachometer, but it doesn't give me the digits. It's just sort of in the green, and then there's a yellow and red bar mimicking the actual tachometer here. So when I put my foot into it, how much power I'm using and when I should shift. That being said, there's also my gear in the center of the heads-up display, and then my speed off to the right. It's a very useful heads-up display and a very colorful heads-up display. I have to say it's probably the most colorful heads-up display I've ever seen in a car. I mean, there's right now 4 different colors, which might not seem like a lot, but it kind of is. On the steering wheel, like I said, I do have paddle shifters, and then I do have my volume, voice control, and phone options on the left, and on the right, my M button, track change, CD, things like that on the right. To the left of me, I just have my headlight switches and my button to toggle on and off the heads-up display. Then on the door, I have the window switches, power mirrors, stuff like that. Now, getting into the center, we do have a nice little center display, which is giving me a bunch of different information. This is where we actually can have our sort of drive modes, if you'll call it. There's no set drive modes, but I can change a bunch of different things into sport mode. I can change my EDC, sport, normal, or unchanged. I can turn on my traction control. My power, interestingly enough, I can even have power be sport or efficient. Right now, of course, I have it in efficiency, but if I want to drive around town with all of the power at the ready, you can actually do that. And then heads-up display, we have M view or unchanged. And this will pretty much just toggle on and off the heads-up display. But going back here, we have our CD, multimedia, radio, telephone, navigation, office. See, office. Office is just your contacts. I don't know why they couldn't just call it contacts. BMW assist, vehicle info, and then settings. Onboard info. We have my range, average speed, fuel consumption, torque distribution, so we can actually see where the X5 is distributing its power, which is really nice. I mean, it has really anything I would want out of, a more performance-oriented car. It gives me all the info I want, and the screen is a little bit small by modern standards, but honestly, by 2011 standards, it's right up there. It's real nice. One thing I'd like to point out is that this does have a sort of not full bird's eye camera, but those are actually cameras, 3 different cameras on the side mirrors and on the back that kind of help you gauge. It gives you almost a 360 view, but it helps you kind of see the ground. Now, unfortunately, these cameras are kind of aged and they've since sort of tinted blue. I don't know if you can see that, but it is nice that in 2011, this car had that feature. That's very ahead of its time. Down below that, I do have the hazard switch and the lock and unlock, and then my climate controls, 3 levels of heated seats, automatic recirculate, defrost, all of your goodies. And then I have my CD player, favorite buttons, and then down below I have a couple more interesting buttons. I do have my parking beepers, traction control on and off, hill descent control, and then my tailgate button, all nicely oriented in the center. Then I do have a 12-volt outlet, ashtray, cup holders, and then we come to the shifter and the scroll wheel. Now, I'll talk about the shifter first. I didn't really like the shifters at first. I thought that BMW kind of did a weird thing, but now I've sort of grown with them. You know, they don't really affect me that much. It's sort of weird to get used to, but once you're used to it, you're totally fine. Down below that, I do have my power parking brake and my auto hold, which is interesting. Again, 2011, it's pretty early, at least in my book, to have auto holding brakes. Cars are just starting to kind of come around and have those more in the mainstream here in 2019, but back in 2011, the X5M had that. Then the scroll wheel off to the right, that is for the center screen. I think it's one of the best in the game. I've always praised BMW for having one of the best scroll wheels. I think really the only other scroll wheel I've driven that really gives it a run for its money is in modern Mazdas. But Mazdas from 2011 did not have as good a scroll wheel. So BMW's been doing as good as Mazda for way longer, which is really, really nice. It has great tactile feedback. I can feel what I'm doing without taking my eyes too far off the road. And it has all of the buttons for my phone, radio, navigation, telephone, things like that. It has everything I want. Now we gotta talk about the seats. The seats are white. They are very white. The interior color is some sort of silver. That's what they say it is, but they're pretty much white. Little hard to keep clean, but they are pretty comfortable. They're very adjustable. 2 different memory settings. Like I said, they are heated. I think they're really fantastic seats. Anything I could want from a seat, I can definitely get with this, and I really, really like that for sure. But speaking of seats, we do have a second row, so let's do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2011 BMW X5 M. Have great climate controls, great room. This is really where you're going to see the differences between the chassis of the X3 and the X5 of the same year. I do have sunshades that come up, lock into place. I have 2 speakers in the door, great climate controls. I do have a center console. Sort of the whole headrest comes down, but then I have flip out cup holders. That is really, really nice. Overall, great back seat. We'll talk about the skylight in a second. I think this is really something you could carry people in and they won't feel crammed or smushed or like children. I hate sitting in the back of small, tiny little sedans, and I feel like an oversized child, which, to be fair, I'm not far from. This is actually an adult area that I could sit back here, and if we were going somewhere, I wouldn't feel weird. It's just a great back seat. I really, really appreciate that. All right, there's the rear hatch. It's cold. I don't want to get out of the car, but that is the rear hatch room. A lot of room. Definitely more room than the X3. Last but not least about the interior is this giant sunroof, moonroof, not really sure what to call it, but it's a giant glass roof essentially, which can be opened. It's pretty chilly here in December, but that is how far it opens. I'll close that back up, and I like that a lot. Now we got to talk about the looks. First of all, the red color. I absolutely love the red color. It's so unique, so special, so different. I feel like I rarely see BMWs in red, and I really, really like that. Going along with that, the X5M does have a couple special accents given to it, like the wider fender flares. I mean, it's really, really clear. The rear tires are 315s, which is such a large rear tire. I mean, it's definitely crazy. But I think overall, it looks slightly different than a regular X5, and I like that a lot. If I'm gonna spend the money, get something special, I like it looking special. You know, a little bit of me does enjoy the fact of the idea of someone looking at this and going, oh, that's an X5M. You know, that's special to me. And I think this car, this SUV really, overall looks great. So my overall consensus is, does this offer a whole lot more than a standard X5? The answer is not really. I mean, it's the same interior space. It's the same, essentially, body style. You know, you have all the creature comforts of a regular X5. You can get a regular X5 with the heated seats, with the navigation. But for people like me who like performance, who enjoy performance vehicles, for people like me who enjoy the blood rush of putting your foot in it, the X5M is worth the extra money. I mean, it's a twin turbo V8 that just goes. It's like, what? Oh my gosh. I've been thinking about this recently because actually yesterday, the day before I'm filming this, which by the time this comes out was, a while ago, but yesterday I had my parents' Mazda CX-5, a 2018 Mazda CX-5, for the entire day. They were gone all day, and so I took it out grocery shopping. I took it to work to film a Fox body earlier that day. I ran errands. I drove around, and what I was thinking about is I'm in such a good mood to be running errands. I had to do a bunch of yard work. I had to get up early to film a car, and I was in such a good mood, and I really attributed it to the fact that I was driving a nice car around. I daily drive a Pontiac G6 that's been on its last leg since 2010. And so driving something nice makes me feel special, and it actually genuinely increases my mood. It gives me a better mood. I'm a nicer person when I've driven something fun, or driven something cool, or driven something luxurious. That's why if you ever see me out and about in my RX-7, I'm ear to ear smiling, and my day is just genuinely better for it. So that is why I would get the X5M over a standard X5. Not to say that anything's wrong with a standard X5, but man, when you're stuck in traffic for 40 of your 50-minute commute, and you get that little bit of straight road, it's in your neighborhood, you know that, there's not going to be any unwanted attention, and you give it the beans, man, I would much rather be in this than a mundane grocery getter. Because this can do both. This can go to the grocery store and you could pick up anything you need, and you could fit a lot in the rear hatch. But your average grocery getter doesn't punch you in the chest when you floor it. Your average grocery getter does not make you smile this much. Oh, I love the X5M. What a machine. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Peter for letting me take out his X5M. I have reviewed 2 of his cars in the past, and I will leave a link at the end of the video to his old, I believe, 328i. That car was absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, he just picked this one up as its replacement. And so if you are a big BMW fan, I highly recommend checking that video out. So huge thank you to him for letting me take this thing out. I love this thing. I absolutely love it. It's just, come on, But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.